morning. It's 8:35. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the town of New Canaan on Tuesday, August 17th. We'll get started at 8:35, and this is a in-person meeting.
It's a hybrid meeting.
Who's on hybrid?
We have the consultant from the.
Oh, okay. We have one remote person. Okay, so it's a hybrid meeting, and that means that we will take public comment in person. I don't see any members of the public here other than the press. And we will take public comments by email. If you wish to send an email, we will read it before the end of the meeting at bosdistribution@newcananct.gov. Tucker will watch for comments by email. But first of all, we have to amend the agenda to add an item from Public Works for a truck repair amounting to $12,867.50. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we'll add that after we get to the only Public Works item?
Yes.
Okay, we'll add that toward the end. So the first item, going back to the agenda, is the minutes from the prior meeting on August 11th and a special meeting on August 11th and a regular meeting on August 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved. Second here.
Discussion, all in favor?
On here. Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. We would, again, public comments, no members of the public are here. We will move on to certificate of adoption of the this is WestCog's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update. So I don't fully understand this item, so I will learn as well as you. Go ahead. Who's our guest?
Good morning. I'm Victoria Vitri from SLR Consulting. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'm just going to present a few of kind of the high points of the plan that we've been working on now with WestCog. So we're the consultant that's been working with WestCog on the update for the region and for each individual municipality in the region. So for New Canaan specifically, this is the fourth time that you would be adopting a plan. So the last few times were in 2005, 2011, and 2016. So this would be the third time that the town is part of a multi-jurisdictional plan. So not new to any of the municipalities throughout the region. Every town and city has had at least one NJ or one natural hazard mitigation plan. So the plan itself is comprised of a few different pieces. Some of the main focus for you folks would be your municipal annex, which has all of your specific information, the vulnerabilities to different types of natural hazards. It has all of the actions that have been identified for the municipality for the next 5 years, all of the objectives and the goals. There's also something called a Stapley table. So this table kind of summarizes all of these actions and summarizes all of these priorities. There's also the multi-jurisdiction plan, which is the larger plan for the region. So it identifies some of the regional actions. And it also has several appendices with things like exposure analyses to take a look at, buildings and potentially people that are potentially impacted by natural hazards. There's also several fact sheets, so it's really great kind of rip and tear information on, say, climate change impacts or, certain strategies or actions or success stories throughout the region. So those are just some of the items that you would see packaged in the plan if you haven't taken a look. Specifically for New Canaan, all of the actions tend to focus on emergency power, emergency response, some education, and then some on infrastructure. In total, the town has, I believe it's 24 actions. And again, a lot focused on emergency power, emergency response, projects. So really the high points here that, we want to make sure most municipalities really understand is one, if there's not an active or adopted natural hazard mitigation plan, the municipality is no longer eligible for HMGP or BRIC funds. So all of those FEMA funding programs. So the HMGP is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And then BRIC, if you're familiar with it, is the newer program. That one is Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities. So having an updated plan is crucial to being eligible for those FEMA funds. And then also it's important to understand and realize that this is just a planning document. It's no sort of mandate, but it's a really great 5-year guidance for the municipality to plan and continuously develop hazard mitigation actions and strategies, whether it's education, infrastructural projects, or some other planning efforts. So those are kind of the high points, but if there's any questions about the plan, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions?
Yes, I just had, and actually perhaps more it's for my colleagues here. To be honest, we didn't get this till 2:45 yesterday, so I did not have an opportunity I skimmed the annex and did not have an opportunity to read the 204 pages of the actual plan itself. So
Do you want to defer action on it?
well, I just got a couple
Why
questions.
don't we ask questions? And
Yeah,
we can
that's a
vote?
couple questions. Yeah. So, so one is, has our emergency operations management team reviewed the annex and the plan? It's quite good. It's quite comprehensive, and what so I commend that there's as I read it, the annex piece, I just thought there's a couple of things that are incorrect in there. For instance, it mentions that our administrative officer is also the risk manager, and so needs some updating, I think, probably from the last review. And I would also encourage you, can you tell us what other towns are doing as they adopt this plan every 4 years or so? Is that it goes through perhaps the Board of Selectmen? Does it also go through the emergency management team?
Yeah, so what typically happens is and what has happened with this plan is we get together with the municipalities. Usually there's one one individual who's identified. Usually it's emergency operations. Sometimes it is maybe a selectman or a mayor. It depends on who's identified through the WestCog. So we go through that person. They're the point person for the plan, and then they help gather folks for kind of a fact-finding meeting. So we've met with all of the municipalities in the WestCog region. We've chatted with those individuals from the town, or in your case, the town or the city, whichever municipality, and to try to update some of that data, critical facility, those actions that have been completed that you want to carry forward. And then it is released for public review. It is sent back to the municipality, to that point person, which, as we're chatting, I'm trying to find the name of that point person first.
Yeah. Do we know who our point person is?
I suspect it's me.
What a surprise. Read this?
No, I did talk to Russ Kimes about the this is the classic thing that the emergency management director does, the floods and earthquakes and wildfires and everything we have around here. So that's
I'm seeing Tiger is what I have in my latest notes. My colleague Noah has been pretty involved in this as well, and he's currently on his way to Israel, so I can't loop him in. But I see Tiger down. But it has gone through several. We've met with the municipalities, and it typically gets sent back and then distributed for review. It's gone through Dennis, FEMA, and then it's gone through WestCog. Nicole Sullivan and her colleagues have reviewed it as well. Just to give you an idea of who it gets sent to.
I suggest we ask our additional questions today, but otherwise we want to defer and read this.
Absolutely.
And talk to Tiger when he's back on vacation, and talk to Russ Kimes, and we will vote on this.
Yeah, it's like the POCD. You want to be able to read the whole thing before you approve it.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So I don't have any further questions.
Nick?
No, good.
So
do you have a timeline, actually? That's my question. Everything has to be approved. Our next meeting is September 7th. Is there any reason to have it done before the end of the month?
I don't believe so, but let me, so right now, just to, again, to have, like I said, to have an updated and adopted plan is key for having funding eligibility. So the Hazard Mitigation Grant HMGP program is currently open. So if you're interested in submitting anything for that, I would suggest trying to adopt sooner, but I also would need to take a look, and I'm trying again as we chat to see when the New Canaan, the last plan expires, which I believe you're in the last hazard mitigation multi-jurisdiction plan. So that is 2021. I would have to look for the specific date, but I could always follow up with, I believe Tucker was my, my contact here. I could always maybe shoot an email back just to confirm the date. You just want to make sure you don't have a lapsed plan, but a month really shouldn't be an issue. If there is any large issue, I'll let you know, but I don't think so.
Okay, so we will take this up again in 3 weeks on the September 7th. And if we have any questions, we will call so that we will have Tiger here and Russ's input and feel much more confident we know what we're doing.
Yeah, please feel free to give me a call or shoot an email to myself, or Noah Slogan is my colleague. And we've been working closely with Nicole Sullivan at Westcog. So any questions, definitely reach out, or comments that we can make edits on the plan.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming today,
Yeah, of course.
hopefully, and we will come back to you and plan on approving this on September 7th.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. See if we can do something. Oh. Good morning,
Good morning.
Linda. How are you?
I'm fine.
Next item on the agenda is banking service with JP Morgan Chase Bank.
Yes, so this is the continuation of the process that we began last year in the process of RFP and looking for banking services. We interviewed banks. I believe we had 5 banks. At the end, we brought in for interviews. Went through the selection process, and we provided you with an update that we had selected JP Morgan Chase. And so what followed was the process of getting together the agreement. It's somewhat standard, but we wanted to, I believe at the last meeting, after the approval, you gave, the approval was that you gave the first selectman the authority to sign, but we decided to just bring to you the agreement. I believe I'd emailed this to you about a week ago or so for you to take a look at and provide any feedback. But if you don't have any questions, we would like to move forward. The next step in this process is JP Morgan would sit down with the town and we would work on a timeline of implementation. There are a number of things, not only switching the accounts, but there are quite a number of enhanced services that they're going to be providing, the ability to pay online, to send, get suppliers booked online. They have the ability to take over some of our check processing process, which is something we're really excited about. We're also upgrading our Munis, and therefore there's some features in the upgraded version of Munis that tie well with this. And so we look to really automate a lot of our processes and provide additional efficiencies there. So,
Any questions about the agreement?
Just had one, Linda, thank you for all this. It's really great. On these insurance requirements in terms of the liability insurance, et cetera, has that changed at all from what was required from our previous banking provider?
there was one that did, I believe it was the 1 million, the compensation, I believe that was 500,000. So
They
it was
increased
raised.
that. So did we have to change anything then in terms of?
No, these were already standard within
Okay.
our policies.
So they just increased on the agreement?
Yep.
Okay, okay. That was the only question I had. Thank you.
I move we approve this request from the finance director to, I thought you're the CFO. We call you the finance director.
He's both.
To enter into agreement with JP Morgan Chase Bank for certain banking services. Do I have a second?
Second here.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. CFO.
Thank you.
Next, you're also doing the tax abatement.
I am, and Kathleen brought this up earlier. The way that the process works, these names had to be certified by March, but we failed to put a hard deadline as to when they can continue to come in. And therefore, we seem to have some struggle in every. So this week we have one, but I'll be sending out a note to the departments to make sure that this is it. I know last week I said this was it. And then I had one come in. I don't have the authority to deny them. So I just bring him forward. But we do have one more. This is Tracy Lynn Evans. She's a EMS volunteer, lives in the.
Is there a deadline?
No.
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine.
There's no deadline. I mean, the only
What is the
flip
financial?
side is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to.
It is paperwork on our part and fills up the agenda. When they come in late, obviously their taxes are late and therefore they pay that on their end. And so
Right.
there's an incentive to do it early so you don't pay the late taxes on these. And that's all I have. So just on your
Any
Well, again, it's a great program. A lot of other towns have been doing it before us, before we initiated it and so on.
Mhm.
very in favor of the program.
Okay, I move we approve the request from the CFO, I guess, for the abatement of real and personal property taxes due on July 1, 2021 under our property tax abatement and other benefits for volunteer first responders program approved by the town council last June
I'll second.
2020. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Horner. Good morning.
Morning.
Our Fire Commission Chairman. Longtime Fire Commission Chairman.
It's better with age. Right. The Fire Commission, which voted.
Jack, hold the mic close to you if you can, please.
Talking to the machine. As Trump used to say.
The Fire Commission voted unanimously on this last week, and we would seek the approval of the Board of Selectmen to hire Albert C. Bassett as the Assistant Chief of the New Canaan Fire Department.
Questions for
That's our
Jack?
request.
I would mention that I sat in on the interviews and
Yes, sir.
Albie is he?
Albie.
He goes by Albie.
He
Yes,
goes by
sir.
Albie is a terrific hire for us, and I think everyone will like working with him. So
Can you talk a little bit about the process?
Absolutely. We worked with the Human Resources Department and the management of the fire department. And we had established a process which we had used previously in promoting officers, and it's worked effectively not only for the New Canaan Fire Department, but worked effectively around the region, especially in the state of Connecticut. So the way the process works is that we publicly ask for request people to apply for the job. The job description is posted along with that. And we received approximately 14 responses to that. And then as part of that process, we had hired a consultant to then grade those responses and then choose for us what is called a chief's panel to do the actual interviews. So there were 7 people who actually made the initial grade, if you will, that actually met most of the qualifications to be interviewed. And of those, one just before we went to the interviews, one of them backed off because he'd received a job elsewhere. So 6 people were interviewed by the chief's panel, and they recommended to us a final 3. We told them that if there was a close 4th, please include them. We want to see all the best candidates, but there really only were 3. And then the commission interviewed the final 3, along with the participation of the first selectman, the chief, Jack Hennessy, the head of the union, Joe Diorio, and the head of the volunteer corps, Rob Malazzi. The commission are the only ones who have a vote, but the others are welcome to offer their advice. That's why they're there. And we then came to the conclusion unanimously that Albie Bassett was the best candidate. Yes, ma'am.
Sounds like a great process. Thank you. I just, first of all, his resume just speaks volumes in terms of his qualifications. I'm looking forward to meeting him. I note that he is also co-chair of the Hazardous Incident Response Team in Fairfield and Regional Emergency Planning Team, and also is an instructor at the State of Connecticut Fire Academy.
Yes.
Will he continue in those 3 roles as well?
So long as he seems to be able to do it in Norwalk, and so long as it does not interfere with his responsibilities to the town of New Canaan, he is free to do that. We generally have to approve any outside interests of any of our members and especially officers.
Mhm.
So we'll go through that process, but we would.
Seems
love
like
to
an
have-
added benefit,
We
actually.
would, yes, we
they
would
know
very
something
much
about
like
the
that.
Westpac hazard plan. So
Right, there you go. Right, exactly.
Yeah, and when it comes to that hazard, incident team, that most of those hazardous materials, although there's significant training in other emergencies.
Sure.
You raise a fair point, though, because he's actually works part-time for the state training firemen. And
Yes, he does.
I suspect he'll want to continue to do that. Have we had that discussion?
He would like to be able to do that. He's trained many of our firefighters, not only at the academy, but he's trained them when we do regular firefighting training around the region.
He's a
So-
great candidate. Actually, one of the finalists who didn't make it
Right.
called me up and said, you've got a great guy.
Yeah.
This is a
It's-
terrific hire.
And that seems to be a somewhat universal opinion.
Looks great.
All right. Any further questions? I fully endorse this hire and therefore move that we approve the request from the Fire Commission to hire Albert C. Bassett as Assistant Chief of the New Canaan Fire Department. Do I have a second? For the discussion?
Second.
Second. Kathleen second.
The arrow
Beat you to it.
is this way.
Kathleen seconds. Further discussion? All in favor?
No.
Aye. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Look forward to having Albie on board. 2 weeks. Cheryl,
Is Claudia on?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yes, I am.
perfect. So Claudia and I are here to present Ellen Peterson, who has worked for the town since April of 2003. She retired at the end of July. And Claudia is requesting to have her go part-time until she gets her staffing up to date. So we are here to ask to have Ellen. come on.
What does up to date mean?
Claudia, do you want to talk about what your thoughts are for hiring in place of Ellen?
Well, we have to bring, since Ellen retired, we have to bring another person on full time. So that's up to date means until we hire someone. So Ellen has offered to come back 1 or 2 days a week just to keep us going a little bit until then, and also to train the new person. Right now, we have not been exploring that because we're in the middle of the special election. We've kind of gone from one thing to another. So after this is over, that's when we'll start.
I just say, hi, Claudia. I know you're obviously very busy today of all days. Just as you look forward and looking for Ellen's replacement, can you just describe the process for us? Is this going to be a position that's posted, and is there a review process, et cetera? How does that work?
Well, I think Cheryl will have a little bit of information on that. I think the first thing is posting internally. Is that correct, Cheryl?
Correct. If we leave this as a union position, we would post internally first. If we do not have a internal, then we would go outside.
Is there an option that this position might not be a union position?
If it would become more of a deputy position, which Claudia and I have spoken about, then it could be brought out of the union. So that's a discussion that Claudia and I will continue to have.
I see.
That's actually a really good question. I mean, what is the dividing line between a deputy position and a union position?
I was thinking of reorganizing the office somewhat. So I'm just exploring that right now, and I have not had a chance to really explore that in depth with Cheryl yet. But I think there are options for us.
Not that I'm against unions, by the way. I want to understand it from a.
For the town, the difference is if we have someone who's a manager or a deputy director, an advanced degree, has supervisory skills, then that would be out of the union.
Right.
So if that was a position Claudia was looking for, then we would petition to move that out of the
Right.
union.
Petition? What do you mean petition?
Because it's currently a position in the union, we would have to petition to the union to move that out.
And the union would have to agree to that, correct?
They would have to agree, but we
CBA?
would have the attorneys on our side
Right,
showing
right.
that there's a reason this would need to be moved out.
Got it. Thank you.
So Claudia, give us a sense of time in terms of, as you, obviously this is all very new, but as you kind of consider the configuration of your organization, what will, and obviously if we go out to find either a deputy manager or a replacement directly for Ellen. What's your timeline? Is this something that you hope to achieve? How long is Ellen willing to work 1 to 2 days a week? And is this something that you hope to have done by the end of September, the end of December? Any thoughts on that?
I would simply say as soon as possible. So I'm hoping to move quickly on it. And I just want to also remind that it's listed as assistant town clerk right now, and an assistant town clerk is an appointed position. It's definitely an appointment. It's not necessarily a hire, but anyway, I don't know how much interest there will be, and maybe there'll be a lot, maybe there won't. And we certainly have to find the right fit for the office and going forward for the town. I don't know. It's going to have to be soon because there's a lot coming up.
So preferably you're saying perhaps before the next election, November 2nd.
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, I definitely want to have somebody in place this fall. Our recordings are through the roof, really.
Yeah.
We literally have one person can be taken up, their full day can be taken up just on the recordings that come in. So that's, one tiny piece of the job. It's a big piece, but it's only one piece. So, now I'm down one person for that. And throw in an election or something else. And we're going to have absentee ballots coming up in October, September. We have to be planning them. So yes, we need to move quickly.
How's it going today?
Well, we're trying to finish up with all our reconciliation with the absentee ballots, so that can be somewhat intense. But I don't know how the polling places are going yet.
Very slow.
Expectations and time in terms of timing of results? Not to put you on the spot, at least the new came in.
Well, they're using tabulators, and it's only one position, one office, so it should be very, very instantaneous. We have about 500 absentee ballots that have been returned. Again, only one office. Running those through a tabulator, that should be very fast. It should not be a long night.
The first
we'll
2
see.
hours.
The thing is that our office has been a polling place now for a month and a half, and I think that's going to be the way of the future because of because they allowed COVID to be used as an excuse not to go to the polls. Everyone came to the town clerk's office to vote in advance. So people are getting used to this, and if the Secretary of State goes that direction next time, we may end up having to process that every year. And
as I was walking in this morning, there was a woman who was jogging. I think she was out for a 5 or 6 mile run, and she had a ballot, and she jogged up to the ballot box, dropped it in. I said, "That's an interesting way to vote.
I was
Healthy way to vote."
I was at the high school this morning. The first 2 hours was approximately 24 people had come in to vote.
Claudia, how many people voted by absentee ballot?
500.
We've had almost 500 returned.
Versus how many do we have? How many do we have for the presidential last November?
So returned was about 1,600. And usually it's about 200 we issue for a municipal, about 600 for a gubernatorial, 6 to 8 maybe 6 comes back, we issue 8, and then for presidential we issue over 2,000, and sometimes only 1,800 come back, 1,600, it just depends.
So people cannot vote by absentee ballot today. They can vote if they're not registered by same day registration at the registrar's office.
I don't know about same day registration with this. I honestly don't know. That's the registrar's piece to
Somebody
it, but
voted
they
this
can
morning, so I
vote
assume-
by.
Well, people can submit their absentee ballots into the box outside until what time today?
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to be a small turnout, but the polls open at 6 a.m. They'll be open until 8 p.m. and a special election today. So anybody watching this from Channel 79, go out and vote. And Claudia, thank you. We'll now vote on your part-time hire of Ellen Peterson. I moved we approve the request from the town clerk to hire Ellen Peterson as an administrative assistant as a part-time employee.
Second here.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Claudia. Good luck with
Thank
the
you.
election.
Thank you.
Okay, that leaves us now to, one more item. So when we transitioned with Tom Stadler's retirement, Tom had been our risk manager, and we had Linda take that risk management leadership over. We've discovered that there's a piece that we're missing. We met with Kerma recently, and in order to have someone work on the immediate claim of incidents, we need someone local and someone who's available, and Tom always was available for that. He's in retirement. He's doing a lot of things with various nonprofits, but he's available and would like to work with us part-time, not as a part-time employee, but as a stipend employee, like we have with our medical director and our emergency management director, to help the risk management process. So that it's very important, if we have a tree fall on someone or something happens, that we immediately go out and investigate, document it, take photos. That's what we need Tom for.
Mhm.
In addition to keeping track and working with Linda to and Josh in finance to manage the claims. We have, so, and we have a process now. We have a monthly risk management meeting with everyone involved. So I think it's a good idea for us. Linda, do you want to make any comments about why we would like to?
No, I think it's a great idea, and Tom gives the example. Several years back, there was an incident where we had a claim, and somebody was, I believe they drove through a stop sign or didn't see a stop sign, and it was covered by trees and whatever. And they said that we were at fault for that. Well, Tom immediately went into his car and had his camera on, and went through, basically reenacted the scene, and the stop sign was clear and visible. But Tom has that flexibility. I'm not always available to just jump out and go look at trees and things like that. And in addition to that, he reviews open claims. There's cost allocations, because we allocate cost to the library, to the Board of Ed, and ourselves. And so he looks into that as well for us. And so he will be, I think it says risk manager, it's actually risk management analyst is his role, is moving into this.
As a former CAO, he knows the town,
Correct.
and he's terrific. And I know, he's helped Tucker into the job, and he's also a great guy. And I think it's a great hire.
And he continues to be our chairman of our family fourth committee. And
If we ever have a fourth, we know Labor Day is going to get rained out, right?
so anyway, any questions about?
Yeah, okay, thank you for clarifying. So you are the risk manager then still? Okay, so great. And so he'll be a risk manager. So is this, you said a stipend, do we take him, this is a contract then?
Yes, he would receive payment every 2 weeks, but we have an amount that we agreed upon with him, and he will get that stipend every year. Or we'll see how the first year goes and look
Okay.
into it.
So will that go through our contracts review or no? Or is it
No, it is part of the budget for what we have budgeted with our liability insurance. So it would come out of that line. The monies would be transferred out of that.
okay? Well, couldn't think of a better person, obviously, than Tom Stadler. So that makes a lot of sense. But thanks for the clarification.
And Linda handled risk management at the city of Norwalk. So
Yes.
I did, yes.
Anyway, so I move this. Did I already move it? I will move the approval of the Tom Stadler to serve as part-time risk manager analyst with the CFO. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kathleen seconds. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the item we added to the agenda for the approval of a request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Allegiance Trucks for transmission, flywheel, and shock absorbing mount repairs for a cost of $12,867.50. Who's doing this? Mose?
Sure.
In the absence of Tiger?
The truck needs a tranny.
So,
Actually, if you look at the bottom, if you look at this bill, it says one set of shock absorbing motor mounts. This is something that International just added because And I was just told this by the guys that work on the trucks. So Peapod has the same truck, and they go out and they don't have this problem. So this is why there's not any recalls on them. But when you put a plow on it and hit manholes and stuff, it jars the engine, which breaks the flywheel and the bell housing, and then they got to go put this in. Now they add this one set of shock absorbing motor mounts.
Okay, well, sounds like we need it.
I presume we're going to still obviously use it as for snow plowing, right? And is that additional thing that'll protect it from causing the
That's what they're
issue?
saying.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No question.
Okay, I move we approve this request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Allegiant Trucks for transmission, flywheel, and shock absorbing motor mounts repairs for a cost of $12,867.50. A second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mm.
Thank you, Mose.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That brings us to contracts, a couple of contracts on the tablets.
So just one question. Are we putting in a CHP at Lapham? Is that what that is all about?
Yes,
Okay,
in this building and Lapham.
in this building and Lapham. Okay.
Yeah, this building, Eversource is working on bringing gas into Waveney Park. Initially for Lapham Center, hopefully then for the pool down the road, but and possibly the paddle tennis courts, all
Okay.
of which have propane right now.
Okay.
And that's with MHR.
Yeah.
And they should be proceeding with this building in the next couple months. Do we have gas yet here? Most, did they bring the gas back to the?
I have no idea.
That's why we have Tiger. Tiger talks to Eversource.
They have ruined it, I own that.
Yeah, on that point, we have the Aquarian and Eversource working at night in Main Street in front of the firehouse this week. And so working at night doesn't disrupt many people, but it possibly disrupts the firehouse. So anyway, do we vote on the contracts?
No.
Okay. Legal bills. We vote on the legal bills.
Yes.
Any questions on the legal bills?
Nope.
None here.
I move we approve the legal bills on the tablets. Second,
Second.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tax overpayments, there's a few motor vehicle tax overpayments. It says 2 for real estate, but I don't see any number for real estate, so I'm kind of confused by that, but anyway. Do we vote on this or do we just?
You vote.
I don't think so.
I can never-
It's just a review. It doesn't say approval. It's just a report.
I don't know, that's why I always,
I think we've always voted.
I'm reading the
Yeah.
agenda. I move that we approve the tax overpayments on the agenda,
Second.
on the tablets, I should say. And Nick seconds and further discussion. All in favor? Aye. That brings us to the end of the agenda. I'll make a few comments. So on COVID, our weekly numbers are still modest. I will do an out call on Thursday evening after we see how this week develops. We are in touch with various organizations in town about our mask policy, which hasn't changed. The cities around us, Stamford and Norwalk, and all the major cities in Connecticut have adopted mask mandates as permitted by the governor's delegation of responsibility for local decisions. The mayor of Danbury asked his surrounding towns to join him, and therefore 5 towns around Danbury have adopted a mask mandate. We're having weekly calls of our Westcog CEOs, and other than the cities, there's several towns, including ourselves and Darien and Wilton and Newtown and Westport, that have decided not yet to adopt mask mandates for indoors for private businesses and private activities. But we're monitoring our numbers. Our numbers remain good, and our vaccination rates are so high that people should feel comfortable. Obviously, anyone who feels they should be more comfortable wearing masks. Masks are designed to protect the unvaccinated, but the best way to protect the unvaccinated is to get vaccinated. So we continue to work on our effort to get everyone vaccinated in town, who works in town, who works for the town. We are adopting a policy this week of either get vaccinated or do weekly testing for town employees. And we're going to stand up testing again for mass testing, probably 2 days a week.
What's the status of boosters?
Well, I think they've just been authorized. So did they authorize seniors or just the
Comorbidities?
yeah, so that's been authorized by the CDC or the FDA. But we're prepared we have the 3 vaccines available at the health department. Anyone who wants a vaccination can go to the health department and get vaccinated, but we will do the boosters whenever they're recommended. And I guess
Right.
So our numbers, again, continue. We're just like the governor, we're watching the metrics. And the feedback we're getting so far is people would not like to see a mask mandate in town. So until that changes, until we see the numbers rise, which, the big concern is travel. Obviously, people who come back from Chicago.
I tested negative, just so you know.
Create greater risk. We had people come back from Chicago positive, and but Nantucket is a problem this year with 100,000 people over there, and
Half of them from New Canaan.
so that's our real rush in the next 2 weeks as we approach school reopening. That a lot of people are traveling. If we see a big uptick from travel, that will probably change our mind about what we do locally. But so far, knock on wood, people should get tested as soon as they get back from traveling, or if they haven't tested from where they're coming from. But we're going to take it literally week by week and probably day by day at this point.
Well, we've learned to be flexible, right? Nothing else.
Right. Although I would note that
Making quick, decisions, mask or unmask, or, indoors, outdoors, whatever. And we've learned from this virus. And if the point comes where we think, we need to mask up indoors, we'll do it.
the thing about Delta variant is that it comes on very fast. So you kind of immediately know that you have been infected, and if you're not vaccinated, if the results can be serious. And we've had some breakthrough cases locally. I was disturbed to learn of a former Darien resident who actually died at age 80, but he was on immuno. What exactly? So it can be serious if you're unvaccinated, and therefore please get vaccinated. And that's the best way to protect.
Get vaccinated. Everybody should be vaccinated.
Right. Unless you have medical reasons not to. Some few very small minority of people have medical reasons. And if you want to claim a religious exemption, you have to do that in accordance with the process. So that I think is COVID. What else do I want to mention? Obviously, we decided to cancel the Family Fourth. I think we will never, ever try to schedule a Family Fourth in the middle of August when no one's here. It wasn't a good idea in the beginning. The Athletic Foundation has canceled their Field Fest for September 18th. And the better part of Valor right now, they had to make some financial commitments that were going to be at risk to proceed. I would say with respect to the Family Fourth, the Family Fourth Fund has a healthy fund. We clearly sell the passes on an annual basis on a non-refundable basis. And the
passes that were sold for this year will be honored
next
year.
Right. And if someone can't use it for next year, they can ask for a refund next year. So what else? I think I had something else, but
so I got to ask my assistant political director, Whitney, called my attention to an article in one of the online publications. And I'll just read the headline. It says, Moynihan Group looking to site new police station on school grounds. Thoughts?
Well, okay. So we're going to have a conversation at the end of the month coming into September. The Police Department Building Committee has gone through a process with one architect to see what it takes to renovate that building. We have one more piece to do the environmental work there to be sure that there are not surprises on the environmental front. And then we will know what that package means in terms of renovating the South Avenue building. The alternative is to build a new building, which in eyes of some is a preferable solution for a police department, which these days is a very specialized building, and so we're really building it for the next 50 to 100 years.
So just to be clear, is it, part of the equation that you would look at building, taking out the softball field, the baseball field and
Well,
putting,
that was one location among several. That we studied 12 locations, and I think we will bring back a discussion, at least, if not a recommendation, about the possibility of another location. And
you were a terrific first selectman, and you have ideas, rampant plethora of ideas, some good, some bad. I said 2 years ago, this is a dumb idea. It will never happen on my watch. We are not going to put a police station. We're not going to take out fields at Sac School to put in anything, let alone a police department.
I understand where your vote's coming from. So we'll have a vote by the town bodies. And so that will be a discussion for September 7th. And did you have another point?
Yeah, it just is never going to happen as long as I'm the selectman. I can assure you.
Kathleen, do you have any comments?
On another topic.
Yes.
That's okay. So it actually somewhat related. So Vine Cottage, obviously, if we were going to bring it back, maybe two things. One, I'd be interested if we can get a refresher as to what the cost would be to just paint the building, because whatever we're going to do,
Because it's an eyesore.
it's an eyesore. Whether it's going to be sold, if it was my house, I'd paint it before I try to sell it. Or if we were keeping it, it also needs to be updated. So maybe if Tiger team can come back to us with a quote or two on how much that would cost to paint that. And the second is if we could also, perhaps the next meeting or next two meetings, have a review of building usage by employees. So obviously that's currently being used, but if we look at forward, say 6 to 12 months, what the plan might be, whether or not, again, Vine Cottage, Waveney, et cetera, what's the longer term plan in terms of employee usage of these buildings? That'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm good.
There was one other thing which I wanted to mention, but it's escaped mine. We will, Board of Finance will take up the library MOU tonight and the $10 million bond authorization. I don't know what it was. I'll take it up in 3 weeks.
Are they
Okay.
also considering the bond as well as the letter of credit or line
Yeah,
of credit?
the board, I'll let them, I
Okay.
don't want to steal their thunder.
Okay,
They will have a plan tonight,
discussion about that.
discussion about that tonight.
Good. Good.
That wasn't the thing. I was trying to help you.
It's not coming to me anyway.
Okay.
So thank you all. We adjourn at 9:23.
Second.
Aye.
Aye, all in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't read that.